What started as a Saturday morning coffee date turned into a podcast where we chat about things like faith, family, finances, and so much more.
We're just a husband and wife living this devoted life, and we're here to help you live this devoted life too.
If you enjoy this podcast and want to help support our ministry, there are a few things you can do.
Please subscribe to this podcast, leave us a review, and share these episodes with your friends so that you can help them live this devoted life too. Welcome back to another episode of This Devoted Life podcast. In our previous episode, we went over 5 habits for stay-at-home moms, 5 healthy habits for stay-at-home moms. And in this episode, we're actually going to swing it to the men. And so we're going to talk about 5 healthy habits for Christian businessmen with a family. Because you are a part owner of a commercial construction business, but you have done a really good job of prioritizing family on top of that. So you are a very driven person. But we want to talk about the healthy habits that you have established that as a family man have benefited you both from a spiritual standpoint, from just being a good husband, a good dad, and to also still maintaining a pretty awesome business career as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I've actually been looking forward to this one, and even though we threw businessman in there, obviously, if you don't own a business, if you maybe aren't even a father yet, or things like that, I'm sure any man could learn and kind of challenge themselves with the things that I'm going to talk about today. And not that I have it figured out, it's just I think there's some good, simple, actionable items in here. So I will preface this that I can talk for hours just in general, like we could probably just sit here and chat. So I made a lot of notes, and those of you who don't watch on YouTube might not know that we really don't use many notes. I mean, we'll obviously have a framework, but we pretty much just kind of sit here and talk. And then those of you who do watch on YouTube will see that I am going to try to reference these notes a lot to stay on track. So
Yes, you definitely can talk when you are passionate about something, which is one of the things that I do just love about you.
Yeah, thanks.
You are probably one of the most disciplined people that I have ever met. It's actually kind of funny because I'm kind of the complete opposite of you. And so I think we've been a really good balance for each other, because in the areas that I have really struggled, you've definitely been an encouragement to me. You're like, it's not like complicated. It's just hard. Like, this is really simple, but it's hard,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been something that you've talked to me a lot about, and just like doing things with discipline. It's a good thing, but it's simple, but it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do say that quite a bit. And I will also add in another preface to this that in general, I am a very intense person, and I may not come across that way on here, or I don't know. But don't take the intensity as me getting after you or me saying that I have things figured out, things like that. I am toughest on myself first, but I also do really want the best for everybody. And so as I kind of share a handful of things here, if I come across a little strong, just please take it with the right spirit and be encouraged by it, and just kind of enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So we have kind of broken it down into 5 categories, 5 disciplines, if you will. And so the first one is physical health. So what do you do for your physical health?
so for the last 5 years, I think it was actually maybe not quite 5 years. I think it was January 2nd of 2019.
He knows the exact date. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So 2018 was a really tough year. We've shared a little bit, and I won't go into any details. But it was a tough year for a lot of reasons for me and for us. And that was my year of survival. So 2019, I jumped into it and I wanted that to be my year to thrive. And I have literally worked out 5 to 6 days a week. I mean, obviously, there's been some, vacations and trips and things like that
Small
in there.
seasons of sickness or
Yeah,
whatever.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So maybe a week or two here at any given time where I may have missed, but genuinely since that day, 5 to 6 days a week working out fairly intensely. So I have had a lot of success with the Beachbody programs,
Mhm.
the Insanity, the P90X, P90X3. I've done 645, but the past year or so, I've done Lift 4 and Lift More. Um,
Which are still Beachbody programs.
yeah, yep, they're still Beachbody programs. So I'm not sponsored by them. I have no affiliation with them at all, and I'm sure that there's a lot better ones out there, a lot worse. But those are things where I can literally wake up between 5:30 in the morning, come downstairs. I don't have to really get dressed or go out in the cold or anything. I just get up, come downstairs, and start working out, and that has been really just a simple, actionable item that I've, kind
Mhm.
of made an effort with in my life, and it's really helped my health a lot.
Yeah, and I think too, you had said years ago, because I was like, you should just work out in the morning because you were struggling to find that time in the evening. And you were like, I just can't work out in the morning. But you now are working out in the morning. It almost seems like it was just more of a habit that needed to be established. And I think you also realized too that you needed to like not eat beforehand or something.
Yeah, yeah, that was actually back in 2011
Hmm.
when I first did Insanity. I literally woke up and I worked out like crazy hard, and I threw up literally. And
Hmm.
again, I don't know if it was just a blood sugar thing, and I did eat or didn't eat or what, but yeah, maybe my body's just gotten used to it now or whatever. But I would really encourage people to just push themselves out of their comfort zone and things like that. If you were born with a physical issue, things like that, obviously those are things that we can't overcome. And I would
Hmm.
just really encourage you to continue to just try to do whatever you can if you can do something, or just rely on God's strength to get through those things. But for the vast majority of us who really, if you are honest with yourself, you could do better. There's something, I got in a snowmobile accident. My back has given me issues. I've had a hockey injury. Yeah, there's always something that we can say, hey, that's tough. I'm going to not work out today or whatever. I would still encourage you just to show up every day and to do something. It could be as simple as walking on a treadmill or whatever, but just if you physically can, do more. And that's something that has, again, made a big impact in my life. Another driver was I wanted to be a dad that our kids remember it throughout my 30s as a strong, involved dad, and someone that they can be just inspired by, proud of, things like that. And again, I'm still striving to get there and to do more, but it's definitely been a big help in my life.
Yeah.
So
And you mentioned the snowmobile accident, and
mhm.
that could be your excuse, but now it's become your
It
motivation
is,
because you've
yeah.
actually realized that the more work you put into keeping your physical body healthy, the better your back has felt. So it's almost like you had to push through the pain, push through that potential excuse, and
Hmm.
now you're actually seeing the benefits of pushing through the hard.
Yeah, and so that is something that is a mindset thing that we'll maybe get to a little bit later, but I view my snowmobile accident and my back injury as a gift because my body, my back in particular, will let me know if I take a couple weeks off from working out, it it hurts more, and I have just more physical pain,
Mhm.
physical restrictions, disabilities, things like that. So I'm kind of forced into having to work out
Mhm.
and just to survive. And so instead of that being a deterrent, it's actually a motivation.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah.
So did you have anything else that you wanted to add to, physical health?
Boy, I'm sure there's a few other notes in here, but we should move on. So,
All right. So, what do you do then for your spiritual health? As the head of our home, you making sure that your spiritual health is in, tip top shape, I
mhm.
guess, if you will. Like, what are you doing to make sure that you are able to lead our family well?
Yeah, yeah. Like you indicated, as husbands and fathers and leaders in our community, our spiritual health is very important. It's so easy to lose your way and to get distracted and things like that if you aren't grounded in God's word. So that's obviously a simple one, but definitely the first step, I think, is to be in God's word more.
Hmm.
And we kind of touched on it last week with the devotionals that we're doing, reading through the Bible chronologically together. Again, like as we mentioned, it's something that has strengthened our relationship
Hmm.
and obviously my relationship with Christ. And they're just good daily reminders. So many people get wrapped up into, the importance of Christianity for eternity,
Hmm.
but there are so many good day to day influences that the Bible has on our life and make us better men. Pray more. This is one that I definitely try to work on and need to improve on. Honestly, I can be faced with a challenge or an issue and try everything in my own power and own ability and then go to the Lord in prayer.
Right.
And really that should be the first thing that
Yeah.
I do.
We
So
literally have a direct line to heaven.
yes.
And it's like we forget about it regularly.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, we can through Christ speak directly to God. We have an intercessor, and it's one of those things that I don't know why it's something that just seems so easy to put on the back burner.
I know. Yeah, I think it's part of just our selfish nature and as maybe kind of more of a alpha male type personality that I have, I want to fix it. I
Hmm.
want to do things in my own strength just naturally, but that's not an excuse
Hmm.
and something that I definitely should be working
Yeah.
on and need to work on.
Yeah,
So
and God wants us to come to Him not just when we need Him, but in all things. He wants us to come to Him in praise. He wants us to come to
yes.
Him when we are having good times and just share our hearts, with God. And so,
Yeah, and that's one thing in prayer that I've been trying to do more of in the past year or two is to be totally transparent
mhm.
with God. I mean, I know that sounds odd because no one else is listening; it's just us. But I think we can want to like hide things from God and not be transparent with them and kind of hide our flaws and things like that. And if you just make yourself vulnerable and
Mhm.
just speak openly. And one of the things that I pray often is, don't give up on me, God. I there's we all have certain sins, right, that we struggle with, and I think I can confidently say that we have a propensity towards, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like that happened again, or I
Mhm.
did that again, or didn't do that again, and I just say, Lord, I'm sorry, please don't give up on me because I must be very frustrating to you sometimes.
Yeah,
So
I've really enjoyed, as we've read through the Bible, the Psalms especially always just gets me because, the men who wrote the Psalms, particularly David, King David, he was so good at laying bare his heart.
mhm.
Like he would talk to God just about how he was feeling discouraged, like
Yeah,
discouraged unto death. Like
right.
it was so bad. But then he always, through these prayers, through these Psalms, would then encourage his own heart in the truth of God's word and
Yeah,
who God is. We touched on that in the previous episode about the more that we read the Bible, the more we learn about who God is. And it's in light of who he is, that's
yeah,
where we can learn about ourselves. And so, you kind of watch David go through this whole up and down as we read through the Psalms, and you just see he's in the lowest of lows and then in the highest of highs. And
yeah.
then, he's just worshiping God. It's just, it's really beautiful to see.
It is beautiful, and speaking of beautiful, I've never prayed in poems, so but God probably gets a lot more bored with my my prayers than he was with David, so
I doubt that.
uh,
Anyways, anything else you want to add to the spiritual health
nope,
aspect?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. So, one of the next disciplines that we want to talk about is just the mental and emotional health. So, what is something that you are currently doing or has been working well for you with your mental and emotional health?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start big, and this is gonna sound really random, but my best way to be strong mentally and to clear my mind is to wake up literally on a mountaintop and walk out of my tent while backpacking
I knew this was coming.
and look out over the valley. And it's so I've had the privilege of going on several mountain hunts, and quite a few. I've spent, almost 2 months living on mountains, over the years. And it's just so liberating. It's so freeing. And you feel absolutely tiny when you're up there. And I'm not a real touchy-feely person, but it is a spiritual experience,
Mhm.
in a very simple, practical way. But
Yeah.
so
I think
that's yeah. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I think whenever you are, on a mountain or you're standing, by the ocean or something, the magnitude of the
Yeah.
mountains and the magnitude of the ocean just really puts into perspective how small we really are. And
Yes.
it's a very humbling experience, but it also just leaves you standing there going, "Wow, God, you are so big."
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and it really puts the emphasis on him. And along with that, you're free of distractions,
Mhm.
and you don't have your phone going off every 2 seconds and things like that. So, so I'm not saying that everyone needs to go climb a mountain tomorrow, but honestly, I would encourage you to get outdoors, experience a sunrise, literally in your backyard at a local park, wherever you can. Just try to get away a little bit. That is something that really, sunsets are great, but that's the end of the day, and there's not much left that I can do to make a difference for that day. But sunrises, man, those are inspiring to me, and it's just a blank slate.
Mhm. This
Yeah.
is where you and I differ because I really do love those sunsets. To me, that's the epitome of the day. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
you really did touch on just getting somewhere free of distractions, I think is a big thing. It, like you said, it doesn't have to be on a mountaintop and it doesn't have to be in front of an ocean or whatever, but
Yeah.
just somewhere that is free of distractions.
Yeah, I agree, and again, maybe a more simple day-to-day life tactic for mental and emotional stability is to simply focus on the positives in
Yeah.
life, and that is something that, like I mentioned a few minutes ago with my health. I have an ailment, something that is a challenge, but honestly, like I said, it's a gift, and it could be so much worse. Yeah, I grew up with a mom that literally could not walk. She had a disease since I was 2 years old that took away all of her mobility, and it's still to this day is inspiring to me how she lived her life despite that, and how she really focused on the positive. She was the most mentally strong person that, like, I mean, 10x that
Mhm.
I've ever met. And literally just getting out of bed every day was the biggest challenge. So anything that I'm dealing with, it just pales in comparison. And I'm not minimizing anything that you might be dealing with, but try to keep things into perspective. And, that's just, it helps with the mental health aspect to keep things in perspective, rely on Christ, and just, to kind of, live in the moment, not for the moment,
Mhm.
and just try to clear your mind and focus on the positive.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would you say that you do for relational health then?
So relational health is as simple as not surrounding myself with negative people. And on the antithesis of that is to surround yourself with really positive
Mhm.
people, right? So yeah, there's all the different quotes of, you are the sum of the closest five people around you and things like that. But there's all these different disciplines in life, that we talked about several of them here, business, finances, things like that, in addition to the, spiritual and physical and relational, all of those aspects. I try to surround my people or surround myself with people that are positive
Mhm.
and that challenge me in at least one, if not all of these
Yeah.
areas. And so that's not to say that, oh, you're not too good for me. You can't hang out with me. I can't be around you, and to shun people. You might be ministering to someone who is, you know, having challenges or down and out, or maybe haven't been given the tools and the upbringing that maybe you've been blessed with. And that is an encouragement to you, right? They are
Mhm.
making your life better by helping you minister to someone. And so I'm not saying that, again, you can't reach out to the down and outers, but for the people that you let into your inner circle and you surround yourself with every day, I really encourage you to just, seek out a spot in your life that you want to grow in and you want to excel in, and then maybe pay attention to uh, a couple people
Mhm.
that you might want to get a little closer to, because you know that they will challenge you and expand your world
Mhm.
in that area. And that's something that I kind of do naturally. Most of my life, but I've also been more purposeful in doing that, and add value to their lives too. Don't be a sucker and just suck. Don't be the negative person or the energy sapper in their lives. Maybe they might be able to help you financially, but you can help them spiritually, or vice versa,
Mhm.
and just really feed off of each other, and that can be just really, really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes, if we are struggling in an area and you're like, man, I wish, I don't know, I'm going to use my house as an example, but like, I wish I could keep my house a lot cleaner. I can think of a couple people that I'm like, man, they just always do such a good job in keeping
There
their
you
home
go.
clean. And it's like, okay, so those are the people that I need to start talking to,
Right,
and
yeah,
just be like, okay, so what are you doing? How can you challenge me to do this better?
exactly.
So I think that's kind of what you're getting at is everyone has something to offer,
No
and it's
question.
like if you have an area that you are wanting to grow in, those are the people that you want to seek out, is the people that you look at them and you go, oh, they're doing something well,
Yes.
and I want to learn from them.
Yeah, and be energized by them. Don't be jealous. There are so many people that see, oh, he's just got everything figured out, and he's got this and that, or she's beautiful. Like I can't, and it's like be energized by them, and not de-energized, or just feel like, well, I might as well not even try because I'm not going to do that. It's like, you aren't a failure. You're not dead yet. You have today, you have tomorrow, hopefully, and just keep working at it, and
Mhm.
be inspired by other people around you, and want to collaborate with them as well, because we as individuals can only go so far, but if you work as a team and as a community, man, you just blow the lid off this.
Yeah. So in our previous episode, we were talking about intellectual health and just being a lifelong learner.
Mhm.
So, what is something that you are doing today to continue to improve your intellectual health?
Yeah, so this has actually changed a little bit over the past few years. For a few years, a year or two ago, so let's say 3 to 5 years ago, in that range, I made it a goal to read or listen to 2 books per month,
Mhm.
and these books were anything from spiritual to personal growth. Obviously, business finances are a big thing for me, and I did that, and it was very healthy for me and fun.
Mhm.
Honestly, I was energized by it, and honestly, after I did that for several years, It wasn't that I was like, "Oh, now I know everything." It was more of, man, a lot of these books are repetitive and in nature.
Mhm.
There's kind of no new thing under the sun, right? Yeah, so people kind of just package things a little different way. The EOS life and the E myth. You have the integrator and the operator. It's like, well, they're kind of the same
And
person,
you're
just
speaking Greek to me right
yeah.
now, so
Yeah. So what I did is I started listening to podcasts more. And honestly, I have to be purposeful in adding entertainment into my life
Mhm.
because I genuinely enjoy and am driven and motivated by information and learning and trying and challenging myself. So most of the podcasts I listen to or watch on YouTube, they're all about really challenging myself in a certain way. And so I've been doing a lot of podcasts and just, learning I'm on YouTube, literally every day
Mhm.
and trying to learn something new or whatever. And like I said, most of the time it's personal growth and things like that. But even recreationally, if you ever want to know anything about archery or long range rifle shooting or whatever,
You've
I've
consumed enough
I've
content that you
consumed
are now
enough,
an
yeah.
expert.
Yeah, so, I mean, archery I have shot since I was a little kid, but, no, honestly, those are kind of my creative outlets and,
Mhm.
my entertainment, if you will, is to, kinda learn something new
Mhm.
in a recreational area, things like that. But, and I did shoot a mile last fall on
You
my
did.
elk hunt,
You
so
didn't see a single elk on your elk hunt,
you're right,
but
yeah.
you did come home and tell me that you were able to shoot a mile. And I mean, you hit within like a couple feet of your
I
target
did,
too
yeah,
at a
yeah,
mile, which was very impressive. And he
thanks.
he had it all on video too, so I got to relive it with him.
I
But
did, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I had a 40-mile hike through the mountains and a mile shot and no elk to eat, but
Yeah,
it was
not even
fun.
so much as seeing an elk, which is just
Yeah, it was
crazy.
brutal. We saw mule deer,
Yeah.
moose, everything. Just
Yeah.
what wasn't what we were after.
Well, I'm going
So
to throw you a little bit of a curveball because I
okay.
don't think we discussed this, but you mentioned that you listen to a lot of podcasts. So, do you have some podcasts off the top of your head that you would recommend, or that have really challenged you to continue to learn and grow?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really like Patrick Bet David in
Hmm.
Valuetainment. I've been consuming a lot of his stuff for the probably over a year now, maybe two, and he has a great perspective. He's lived a lot of different aspects of life or changed a lot throughout his life, and yeah, he's great. I'm quite good at and when I say I'm good at, I can weed out, spit out the
You
bones,
can eat the meat
and
and spit out the bones.
yeah. So there are some podcasts that I listen to that I'm very selective with that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. One would be a Joe Rogan podcast. It just depends on who he's interviewing.
Hmm.
I'll watch that or listen to that, and I always learn something. So that's the part that I enjoy. Um, uh, Grant Cardone, I consume some of his stuff for, real estate investing that I do, things like that. The Money Guy show, another good financial one. Bo and Brian do a great job at just really simplifying finances and really plating it up for just long-term success,
Hmm.
and it's not flashy, it's not showy, it's just simple, actionable items that you
Hmm.
can take. Um,
Yeah, so I guess like you said like you eat the meat and you spit out the bones. So you're not necessarily like putting your stamp of approval like
yeah,
this is like for everybody, but these are podcasts that have been
yeah,
beneficial to you.
yeah. In fact, I would say in particular, Joe Rogan podcast is not for everybody, and
Exactly.
that's probably one that I might listen to one a month or something like that if he's interviewing someone else that I trust.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, that's great. So, anything else that you want to add to any of these disciplines that we've talked about?
Like I said, I genuinely could talk about these for hours, and I'm very passionate about all of these areas and really want to work to just get better at all of them on a daily basis. But I promised myself that I would stick to the notes, so I don't think there's really anything else for this round. But like I mentioned last week or in the last episode, I think this is something that we'll probably revisit, at least a couple times a year,
Yeah.
and kind of just share things that we're maybe changing up and trying to get better and grow in within these disciplines.
Yeah,
So.
just kind of check in with ourselves and check in with you guys.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Usually what we share is things that we're dealing with at the moment, right?
Mhm.
So we're working on all of these things as we are trying to share them with you as well. So
Yep.
that's a lot of how we approach this podcast is, what season of life are we going through right now? What decisions are we making? What are we trying to implement in our family and in our
Mhm.
marriage and stuff like that? And
Yep.
so you get to listen to it if it's important to us. So,
Exactly. It was just how to live this devoted life.
yeah.
So, anyways, I guess that's a wrap for this episode. So, until next time, we just want to encourage you to continue to seek God, love your spouse, hug your kids, and stay devoted. Thank you for tuning in to this Devoted Life podcast with James and Shanda. We appreciate your support in sharing biblical, uplifting truths with the world. If you found value in this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to improve the show, and we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how to live a life devoted to God and family, head over to thisdevotedlife.com. You can also follow me, Shanda, on Instagram at devoted_motherhood. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next time on This Devoted Life podcast.